Maya's stomach hurt so badly that she could barely walk straight. She had not eaten anything real in 3 days. The last meal was half a sandwich she found in a trash can behind a restaurant. That was on Tuesday. Now it was Friday, and the cold November wind cut through her thin jacket like knives. She was only 15 years old, but she felt much older. The streets had a way of making children grow up fast. 3 weeks ago, she had a home. 3 weeks ago, her mother was still alive. 3 weeks ago, she was just a normal teenager who complained about homework and dreamed about her future. Now she had nothing. No home, no family, no future that she could see. The small town of Maple Ridge sat at the bottom of the Appalachian Mountains. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else. Maya had grown up here, but now she felt like a stranger. She avoided the places where people might recognize her. She did not want their pity. She did not want them to call social services. She had heard terrible stories about foster care from other kids at school. Some of those kids had bruises. Some of them had sad eyes that never smiled. Maya decided she would rather take her chances on the streets. But now, standing outside the bakery on Main Street, she realized she had run out of options. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the door every time someone walked in or out. The smell was torture. It made her stomach twist and her mouth water. She had walked past this bakery every day for a week, trying to build up the courage to do what she needed to do. Maya reached up and touched her hair. It was long and dark, falling past her shoulders almost to her waist. Her mother used to brush it every night before bed. "Your beautiful hair," her mother would say with a weak smile, even when the cancer made her too tired to stand. "Never cut your beautiful hair, Maya." But her mother was gone now, and Maya needed to eat more than she needed to keep a promise. She pulled the rusty scissors from her backpack. She had found them in an abandoned building where she sometimes slept. Her hands shook as she held them. This was it. This was all she had left to trade. Her hair was the only thing about her that still looked clean and healthy. Everything else was dirty and broken. Maya pushed open the bakery door. A small bell rang above her head. The warm air hit her face and she almost cried from how good it felt. Inside, the bakery was small but cozy. There were 3 small tables with chairs. The walls were painted yellow. Behind the glass counter, she could see rows of bread and pastries. Her stomach made a loud noise. A woman stood behind the counter. She was Asian, maybe 50 years old, with kind eyes and her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a white apron covered in flour. When she saw Maya, her smile faded a little. Maya knew she must look terrible. Her clothes were dirty. Her face was probably smudged with dirt. She had not had a real shower in weeks. "Can I help you, honey?" the woman asked. Her voice was gentle, but Maya could hear the concern in it. Maya walked to the counter. Her legs felt weak. She put the scissors on the counter and took a deep breath. "I need bread," she said. Her voice came out scratchy and small. "I can trade you my hair for it. My hair is clean and long. You could sell it. People make wigs from real hair. It is worth money." The woman behind the counter stared at her. Her mouth opened a little, but no words came out. She looked at the scissors, then at Maya's hair, then at Maya's face. Her eyes got shiny with tears. "Sweetheart," the woman started to say, but then a deep voice interrupted from the corner of the bakery. "Keep your hair, child. I will buy you the bread." Maya spun around. She had not noticed anyone else in the bakery. In the corner, at one of the small tables, sat a large man. He was old, maybe 60, with gray hair and a thick gray beard. His face was tan and lined with deep wrinkles from years in the sun. He wore heavy work boots, faded jeans, and a flannel shirt. His hands were rough and calloused. He looked like someone who worked with his hands his whole life. Maya recognized him, though she did not know his name. Everyone in town called him the Mountain Man. He lived somewhere up in the woods and only came to town once in a while. Kids at school used to tell stories about him. Some said he was crazy. Some said he was dangerous. Some said he had done something bad and was hiding from the law. Maya had never believed the stories, but she had also never spoken to him before. "I do not need charity," Maya said, even though she desperately did need charity. Pride was a stupid thing to hold on to when you were starving, but it was all she had left. The man stood up. He was even bigger than he looked sitting down, well over 6 feet tall, but he moved slowly, carefully, like he did not want to scare her. "It is not charity," he said. His voice was rough but not mean. "Consider it payment." "Payment for what?" Maya asked. She took a step back toward the door. Her instincts told her to run. Strange men who offered things always wanted something back. For reminding me that there are still people in this world who need help, the man said. He walked to the counter and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Mrs. Chen, please give this girl whatever she wants to eat, and make it a real meal, not just bread. The woman behind the counter, Mrs. Chen, nodded quickly. Of course, Thomas. So that was his name. Thomas. I do not want your money, Maya said, but her voice was weak. She was so hungry. She was so tired, and the smell of the food was making it hard to think clearly. Thomas looked at her with gray eyes that seemed too sad for someone who was trying to help. When was the last time you ate a real meal? He asked. Maya did not answer. She could not remember. Days blurred together when you lived on the streets. Sit, Thomas said, pointing to the table where he had been sitting. Eat, no strings attached. After you eat, you can leave and never talk to me again if that is what you want. But you need food, and I have money to pay for it. That is all this is. Maya looked at Mrs. Chen, who nodded encouragingly. He is a good man, honey, Mrs. Chen said softly. I have known him for 15 years. Please sit and eat something. You look like you're about to fall over. Maya's legs made the decision for her. They were too tired to run. She walked to the table and sat down in the chair across from where Thomas had been sitting. The chair was so comfortable compared to the cold concrete and dirt she had been sleeping on. Thomas sat back down in his original seat. Mrs. Chen did not wait for Maya to order. She started making a plate of food. Fresh bread with butter, a bowl of hot soup, a sandwich, an apple, a bottle of water. When she brought it to the table, the plate was so full that Maya could not believe it was all for her. Eat slowly, Thomas said. If you have not eaten in a while, going too fast will make you sick. Maya wanted to devour everything at once, but she forced herself to go slow. The first bite of bread was the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. The butter melted on her tongue. The soup was warm and filled her empty stomach. She ate, and Thomas sat across from her in silence. He did not ask questions. He did not stare. He just sat there drinking a cup of coffee, looking out the window at the street. Mrs. Chen stood behind the counter pretending to be busy with other work, but Maya could feel her watching. The woman's eyes were full of worry and kindness. When Maya finally finished eating, she felt like a different person. Her stomach was full. Her body felt warmer. For the first time in weeks, she did not feel like she was about to collapse. She looked up at Thomas, who was still gazing out the window. Thank you, she said quietly. Thomas turned to look at her. His gray eyes studied her face for a long moment. What is your name? He asked. Maya. Maya, he repeated like he was testing how it sounded. How old are you? 15. Something changed in his expression when she said that. Pain flashed across his face, quick and sharp, before he hid it again. Where are your parents, Maya? Dead, she said simply. There was no point in lying or sugarcoating it. My mom died 3 weeks ago. I do not have a dad. No other family that wants me. Where have you been sleeping? Maya shrugged. Around. Empty buildings. Under bridges. Wherever. Thomas was quiet for a long time. Maya started to feel uncomfortable under his gaze. She was about to get up and leave when he finally spoke again. Let me ask you something, Maya, he said. Do you want to survive or do you want to live? Maya frowned. What is the difference? Surviving is getting through each day without dying, Thomas said. Living is having a reason to get up in the morning. Having a future. Having hope. Right now you are surviving. Barely. But you are not living. He leaned forward slightly. I am going to make you an offer. You can say no and I will not be offended, but I want you to really think about it before you answer. Maya's heart started beating faster. What kind of offer? I live in a cabin up in the mountains, 3 miles from here. It is small, but it is warm and safe. I have food. I have space. You can stay there. Help me with chores and daily work. In exchange, you get a roof over your head, 3 meals a day, and safety. No strings attached. You can leave whenever you want. Maya stared at him. Every alarm bell in her head went off at once. This was how bad things happened to girls. Strange men offering shelter, isolated cabins in the woods. She had watched enough crime shows to know how this story ended, but Thomas seemed to read her mind. I know how it sounds, he said. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I am not asking you to decide right now. The week that followed was the longest of Maya's life. She spent every day thinking about Thomas and his offer. At night, when she shivered under a thin blanket in an abandoned warehouse, she imagined what it would be like to sleep in a real bed. During the day, when her stomach growled with hunger, she remembered the warm meal he had bought her. But she was also scared. What if he was dangerous? What if this was all a trap? What if she went to his cabin and never came back? The news was full of stories about missing girls. Maya did not want to become one of those stories. On Tuesday, she went back to the bakery. Mrs. Chen was there arranging fresh pastries in the display case. When she saw Maya, her face lit up with relief. "Maya, I was hoping you would come back," Mrs. Chen said. She immediately started putting together a bag of food. "Are you eating enough? Where are you staying?" "I am okay," Maya lied. She was not okay. She was exhausted and scared and so lonely it hurt. "Can I ask you about Thomas?" Mrs. Chen's expression became serious. She gestured for Maya to sit at one of the tables. "What do you want to know? Is he safe? Can I trust him?" Mrs. Chen sat down across from her. She folded her hands on the table and looked directly into Maya's eyes. "I have known Thomas Brennan for 15 years, she said. "He is a good man. A sad man, but a good one. He has never hurt anyone. He keeps to himself mostly, but when he does interact with people, he is always kind." "Why does he live alone in the mountains?" Maya asked. Mrs. Chen's face softened with sympathy. "That is his story to tell, not mine. But I can tell you this. He is up there punishing himself for something that was not really his fault. He is lonely, and I think maybe helping you would help him too." Maya wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that there were still good people in the world. But trust was hard when you had been let down so many times. "If you decide to go with him," Mrs. Chen continued, "I want you to have my phone number. Call me once a week. If you ever feel unsafe, call me immediately and I will come get you, okay?" Maya nodded. Mrs. Chen wrote her number on a napkin and handed it to her. Maya folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. It felt like a lifeline. The rest of the week crawled by. Maya could not stop thinking about the decision she had to make. She made a list in her head of the pros and cons. Pro: a warm place to sleep. Regular meals. Safety from the streets. Con: he could be dangerous. She would be isolated. No one would hear her if she screamed for help. But the biggest pro was simple. She was not sure she could survive another winter on the streets. The nights were already getting colder. Soon there would be snow. She did not have proper winter clothes. She did not have anywhere warm to go. If she stayed on the streets, she might die. Was a small chance of danger better than a certain chance of freezing to death? By Thursday night, Maya had made her decision. She would take the risk. She would go with Thomas. If it turned out to be a mistake, she would find a way to escape. She was smart. She was resourceful. She had survived this long. She could survive whatever came next. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. Maya washed her face in the public bathroom at the park. She tried to make herself look as presentable as possible. She combed her fingers through her hair and wiped the dirt off her jacket. Then she walked to the bakery, her heart pounding in her chest. Thomas was already there, sitting at the same corner table with a cup of coffee. He looked up when she walked in. For a moment, neither of them said anything. "I will go with you," Maya said. Her voice was stronger than she felt. "But I have conditions." Thomas raised his eyebrows. "What conditions?" "I keep Mrs. Chen's phone number. I call her once a week. If I want to leave, you let me leave. No questions asked. And you do not lock me in or take away my freedom." Thomas nodded slowly. "Those are fair conditions. I agree to all of them. And I need to know why you are doing this," Maya added. "I need to understand why you would help a stranger." Thomas took a sip of his coffee. He looked out the window for a long moment before speaking. "I had a daughter once," he said quietly. "She would have been about your age now. When I saw you last week, trying to trade your hair for bread, I saw her. I could not walk away. I have been walking away from everything for 15 years. I am tired of walking away." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back. "What happened to your daughter?" "She died," Thomas said. His voice was flat, empty. "Along with my wife. Car accident, 15 years ago. I am sorry," Maya whispered. Thomas shook his head. "You do not need to be sorry. It was not your fault. But that is why I live in the mountains. That is why I stay away from people. And that is why I am offering to help you. Not because I want to replace my daughter, but because I failed her and maybe I cannot fail you." Maya did not know what to say to that. She sat down at the table. Mrs. Chen brought them both breakfast without being asked. They ate in silence, but it was not an uncomfortable silence. It was the silence of two people who understood pain and loss. After breakfast, Thomas stood up. "Are you ready?" Maya picked up her backpack. It held everything she owned in the world. One change of clothes, a water bottle, a flashlight with dying batteries, a photograph of her mother. "I am ready." They left the bakery together. Mrs. Chen hugged Maya tightly before they went. "You call me," she whispered in Maya's ear. "Every Friday. Promise me." "I promise," Maya said. Thomas's truck was parked on the street. It was old and beat up, covered in dirt and scratches, but when he started the engine, it roared to life. They drove through town and then onto a narrow road that led up into the mountains. The road got worse the higher they climbed. Pavement turned to gravel, then to dirt. Trees pressed in on both sides. Maya watched the town disappear behind them. Part of her wondered if she was making a huge mistake. Part of her felt calm for the first time in weeks. "How much farther?" she asked. "About 20 minutes, Thomas said. "The cabin is not easy to get to. That is one reason I like it. Privacy, quiet." They drove in silence. Maya looked out the window at the forest. It was beautiful in a wild, untamed way. The trees were tall and old. Leaves covered the ground in shades of red and gold. She saw a deer standing in a clearing watching them pass. Finally, Thomas turned onto an even narrower path. It was barely wide enough for the truck. Branches scraped against the sides. They bounced over rocks and roots. Then suddenly, they emerged into a clearing. The cabin sat in the middle of the clearing, surrounded by tall pine trees. It was made of dark wood that had weathered with age. Smoke came from a stone chimney. There was a small porch with 2 rocking chairs. Behind the cabin, Maya could hear the sound of running water. "That is the stream," Thomas said, noticing her listening. "Fresh water. We use it for everything." He parked the truck and got out. Maya followed slowly, looking around. The clearing was peaceful. There was a garden area, though most of the plants were dead or dying now that fall was here. There was a shed off to the side, and behind everything the mountains rose up like protective walls. "Come inside," Thomas said. "I will show you around." The inside of the cabin was simple but clean. The main room had a kitchen area on one side and a living area on the other. There was a wood stove in the middle, radiating heat. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books and supplies. Everything was organized and neat. "There are 2 bedrooms, Thomas said, pointing to 2 doors. "You can have the one on the right. It is smaller, but it has a good window. Bathroom is through that door. We have running water from the stream, but it is cold. I heat water on the stove for washing." Maya walked over to the bedroom door and opened it. The room was small, just as Thomas had said, but there was a real bed with clean blankets. There was a dresser. There was a window that looked out at the forest. It was more than she had dared to hope for. "Why do you have 2 bedrooms if you live alone?" Maya asked. Thomas's face clouded over. "I built the second one a few years ago. I was not sure why at the time. Maybe I knew someday I would need it." He cleared his throat. "You should rest. You look exhausted. We can talk about chores and responsibilities tomorrow. Today, just settle in." Maya wanted to argue that she was fine, but her body betrayed her. She was exhausted. She could barely keep her eyes open. "Thank you," she said. "For all of this," Thomas nodded. "There's only one rule here, Maya, honesty. If something is wrong, tell me. If you are scared, tell me. If you want to leave, tell me. We do not hide things from each other. Deal?" "Deal," Maya agreed. She went into the bedroom and closed the door. She set her backpack down and sat on the bed. The mattress was soft. The blankets were warm. She lay down just for a moment to test it out. Within minutes, she was asleep. When Maya woke up, it was dark outside. She had slept for hours. She could smell something cooking. Her stomach growled. She got up and opened the door carefully. Thomas was at the stove cooking something in a large pot. He looked over when he heard her door open. "You are awake. Good timing. Dinner is almost ready." Maya walked into the main room. "What time is it?" 6 in the evening. "You slept for about 5 hours. I am sorry. I did not mean to sleep so long." "You needed it," Thomas said. He ladled stew into 2 bowls and brought them to the small table. "Sit, eat." The stew was simple but good. Vegetables, potatoes, and some kind of meat. Maya ate slowly, savoring every bite. Thomas ate across from her, not saying much. The first week at the cabin was the hardest. Maya's body was not used to physical work. Her muscles ached. Her hands got blisters from chopping wood and carrying water. Every night she fell into bed exhausted, wondering if she had made a mistake. But Thomas was patient. When he saw her struggling with the axe, he did not criticize. Instead, he showed her the proper way to swing it. Use your whole body, not just your arms, he explained, demonstrating the motion. Let gravity do most of the work. You are too small to muscle through it, so you have to be smart about it. Maya tried again, following his advice. The log split cleanly. She felt a surge of pride. Good, Thomas said. Now do that 50 more times and we will have enough wood for 3 days. Maya groaned, but she kept working. Thomas worked beside her, splitting his own pile. He did not talk much while they worked. Maya learned that Thomas was a man of few words. He communicated through actions more than conversation. A nod meant approval. A slight shake of his head meant try again. A pat on the shoulder meant good job. In the evenings, after all the work was done, they would sit by the wood stove. Thomas would read books. Maya would stare into the flames, thinking about her old life. Sometimes Thomas would tell her stories about the mountains, about the animals that lived there, about the seasons and how to survive them, about the plants that could heal and the plants that could kill. Why do you know so much about all this? Maya asked one night. I was a carpenter before I came up here, Thomas said. Worked with wood my whole life. But when I moved to the cabin, I realized I needed to learn everything else. How to grow food, how to preserve it, how to live off the land. I taught myself. Made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but I figured it out. Do you miss your old life? Thomas was quiet for a long time. I miss my family, he said finally. Everything else I can live without. The second week was easier. Maya's body started to adjust. The blisters on her hands turned into calluses. Her muscles stopped screaming every time she moved. She began to understand the rhythm of mountain life. Wake up with the sun, start the fire, make breakfast, do the chores, make lunch. Do more chores, make dinner. Sit by the fire, sleep, repeat. It was simple. It was predictable. And strangely, Maya found it comforting. For the first time in months, she knew what each day would bring. There were no surprises, no dangers lurking around corners. Just work and food and warmth and sleep. Thomas took her into the forest and showed her which plants were edible. This is dandelion, he said, pointing to a green plant. You can eat the whole thing. Leaves, roots, flowers. It is bitter but nutritious. He showed her wild onions and mushrooms and berries. Never eat a mushroom unless you are 100% sure you know what it is, he warned. Some of them will kill you. He taught her how to read animal tracks. Deer, rabbit, squirrel, bear. Bears are mostly gone now for winter, he explained. They are finding places to hibernate. But in spring they will be back. You need to be careful then. A mother bear with cubs is the most dangerous thing in these woods. Maya absorbed everything like a sponge. She had always been a good student, and Thomas was a good teacher. He never made her feel stupid for not knowing things. He just showed her once or twice, then let her try on her own. On Friday, Thomas drove them back to town for supplies. Maya called Mrs. Chen from the bakery's phone just as she had promised. How are you, honey? Mrs. Chen asked, her voice full of concern. I am good, Maya said, and she was surprised to realize she meant it. Really good. Thomas is kind. The cabin is nice. I am learning a lot. Are you eating enough? Are you safe? Yes to both. You do not need to worry about me, but Mrs. Chen did worry. Maya could hear it in her voice. She understood why. A teenage girl living alone with an older man in the woods. It sounded bad. But the reality was different than the appearance. Thomas treated her like a daughter, not like anything else. He was respectful. He gave her privacy. He never made her feel uncomfortable. The third and fourth weeks blurred together. Maya settled into her new life completely. She stopped thinking about her old life so much. The memories of her mother still hurt, but the pain was becoming softer. Less sharp, more like a dull ache than a stabbing wound. One afternoon, while they were working in the garden, Maya noticed Thomas staring at something inside the cabin. She followed his gaze and saw a photograph on the mantel above the fireplace. She had noticed it before but never asked about it. Is that them? She asked quietly. Your family? Thomas nodded. He did not speak for a moment. Then he said, Emily, my wife, and Sarah, my daughter. She was 14 when she died. Would be your age now, 29. Maya looked at the photo more closely. The woman was pretty with dark hair and a warm smile. The girl looked like Thomas with his gray eyes and strong jaw. They looked happy, normal, like any family. They look nice, Maya said. They were the best parts of me, Thomas replied. His voice was thick with emotion. Everything good in my life came from them. When they died, all the good died too. Or so I thought. What do you mean? I thought I would never feel anything good again, Thomas said. I thought I was broken forever. But then I met you, and teaching you things, watching you learn and grow, it reminds me that maybe I still have something to give. Maybe I'm not completely broken. Maya felt tears in her eyes. You are not broken, she said. You are one of the best people I have ever met. Thomas smiled sadly. You have not met many people then? I have met plenty, Maya countered. Most of them did not care when I was hungry and homeless. You did. That makes you better than most. They went back to work, but something had shifted between them. A deeper understanding, a stronger bond. They were not just two people sharing a space anymore. They were becoming something like a family. As winter approached, the work changed. They harvested the last of the garden vegetables and preserved them. Thomas showed Maya how to can food, how to pickle things, how to dry herbs. They stocked the cabin with firewood, pile after pile of it. Winter up here is serious, Thomas explained. We can get snowed in for weeks at a time. We need to be prepared. Maya asked if he had internet or television. Thomas shook his head. No electricity except from solar panels, and that is just for lights and charging a few things. No internet. No TV. Just books and conversation and our own thoughts. Does it ever get lonely? Maya asked. Yes, Thomas admitted, especially during the long winter nights. But I am used to it now, and this year I will not be alone. The first snow came in late November. Maya woke up one morning and looked out her window to see the world covered in white. She had seen snow before, but never like this. The forest looked magical. Everything was clean and quiet and beautiful. Thomas made a big breakfast that morning. Snow days are special, he said. We still have to do chores, but we can take our time. Enjoy the day. After breakfast, they went outside. Maya had never felt cold like this before. The air bit at her face and fingers, but Thomas had given her warm clothes, proper winter gear that he had stored away. She was bundled up so much she could barely move, but she was warm. They cleared snow from the paths. They checked on the shed to make sure it was secure. They made sure the stream had not frozen over. The work took longer in the snow, but it was also more peaceful. The world was muffled and soft. That night, sitting by the wood stove, Thomas pulled out a wooden board and some carved pieces. Do you know how to play chess? He asked. Maya shook her head. I will teach you, Thomas said. We have a long winter ahead of us. We need ways to pass the time. He taught her the rules, how each piece moved, the goal of the game. Maya was not very good at first, but she enjoyed it. It made her think. It distracted her from darker thoughts. They started playing every night. Sometimes Thomas won. Sometimes he let her win. Sometimes she actually won on her own. They did not talk much during the games, but the silence was comfortable now. They had learned how to be quiet together without it being awkward. During the day, Maya started reading Thomas's books. He had hundreds of them. Fiction, nonfiction, textbooks, novels. She read about history and science and faraway places. She had always liked reading in school, but now it became her favorite thing. Books were windows to worlds beyond the mountain. You are smart, Thomas observed one day, watching her read a complicated book about botany. Have you thought about school? Maya frowned. I cannot go to school. I do not exist, remember? I am not enrolled anywhere. I do not have a guardian. If I showed up at school, they would call social services. There are other ways to learn, Thomas said. Homeschooling. Online courses. You do not have to give up on education just because you are living here. The idea had not occurred to Maya. She had assumed her education was over. But I do not have a computer. Or internet. Not yet, Thomas said. But maybe we can figure something out. When spring comes, we can look into options. You are too smart to waste your mind. As December arrived, the snow got deeper. They were completely cut off from town now. The road was impassable. But they had everything they needed. Food, water, warmth, shelter, and each other. Maya realized she was happy. Actually happy. For the first time since her mother got sick, she felt at peace. The mountain had given her something she had lost. Safety, purpose, a reason to wake up each morning. One night, 4 months passed on the mountain. Winter slowly loosened its grip, giving way to early spring. The snow melted, revealing brown earth and the first green shoots of new life. Maya had changed during those months. She was stronger now, both physically and mentally. Her face had more color. Her eyes had lost that haunted, desperate look. She smiled more often. She laughed sometimes. Thomas had changed too. He talked more than he used to. He seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. In the evenings, he would tell Maya stories about his life before the mountain, about his work as a carpenter, about funny things that happened on job sites, about the house he built for his wife. He still did not talk much about the accident, but he talked about everything else. They had fallen into a comfortable routine. They were not just roommates or survivor and rescuer anymore. They had become something closer, something like father and daughter, though neither of them said it out loud. In early March, the road finally cleared enough for Thomas to make a trip to town. Maya went with him, eager to see people again after months of isolation. She called Mrs. Chen as always, assuring her that everything was fine. They bought supplies and chatted with a few townspeople. Everyone seemed to know about Maya now. The girl the mountain man had taken in. They looked at her with curiosity and pity. Maya did not like the attention. She stayed close to Thomas, who seemed equally uncomfortable with the stares and whispers. They finished their business quickly and headed back to the mountain, but someone had noticed them. Someone who had been looking for Maya for months. 2 days later, a car struggled up the mountain road. Maya and Thomas were working in the garden, preparing the soil for spring planting when they heard the engine. They both froze. No one ever came up here. No one. The car stopped in the clearing. A woman got out. She was in her 40s, wearing a business suit that was completely wrong for the mountain terrain. She carried a briefcase and wore a determined expression. "Thomas Brennan," she called out. Thomas stood up slowly, wiping dirt from his hands. "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Janet Pierce. I am a social worker with the county. I am here about Maya Santos." She looked at Maya. "You are Maya, correct?" Maya's heart started pounding. This was it. This was the end of everything. They had found her. They were going to take her away. She took a step backward, ready to run into the forest. Thomas held up a hand. "It is okay, Maya. Just stay calm." He turned to Janet. "What is this about?" "I am here to investigate a report that a minor is living with you in this cabin," Janet said. She opened her briefcase and pulled out papers. A 15-year-old girl with no legal guardian. A girl who should be in school and in the system. A girl who has been missing for 4 months. "I am not missing," Maya said, finding her voice. "I am right here. I chose to be here." Janet looked at her with professional sympathy. "Maya, you are a minor. You cannot legally choose to live with an unrelated adult without going through proper channels. There are laws about this. Child welfare laws. I need to verify that you are safe and that this is an appropriate living situation." "She is safe," Thomas said firmly. "I have not hurt her. I have provided her with food, shelter, warmth, and care. She is healthier now than when I found her." "That may be true," Janet said, "but you are not her legal guardian. You have no legal right to house a minor. This could be considered kidnapping." "Kidnapping?" Maya's voice rose. "He saved me. I was homeless and starving. He gave me a home." "You cannot call that kidnapping." Janet's expression softened a little. "I understand you are grateful. And I am not saying Mr. Brennan had bad intentions, but there are proper procedures for these situations. Foster care, group homes, legal guardianship processes. We cannot have unvetted adults taking in minors no matter how good their intentions are." "I do not want to go into the system," Maya said. Tears were starting to form in her eyes. "Please, I'm happy here. I am safe here. Do not take me away." Janet looked between Maya and Thomas. She sighed. "I need to inspect the living situation. I need to interview both of you separately, and then I will make a determination about what happens next." Thomas nodded stiffly. "Fine, inspect whatever you want. But I'm telling you right now, if you try to take Maya away against her will, you are making a mistake." For the next hour, Janet looked through the cabin. She checked Maya's bedroom. She looked at the food supplies. She asked questions about their daily routine. Then she sat down with Maya alone while Thomas waited outside. "Tell me the truth," Janet said gently. "Has he ever hurt you? Touched you inappropriately? Made you uncomfortable in any way?" "No," Maya said firmly. "Never." He has been nothing but respectful and kind. He treats me like a daughter. That is it. Why did you not go to the authorities when you became homeless? Because I was scared, Maya admitted. I heard bad things about foster care. I heard stories from kids at school about abuse and neglect. I thought I was better off on my own. And now I have a home. A real home. With someone who cares about me. Please do not take that away. Janet was quiet for a moment. Do you understand why this situation is problematic? An older man living alone, taking in a teenage girl without telling anyone. Can you see how that looks? I know how it looks, Maya said. But it is not what it looks like. Thomas is a good person. He has his own pain. He lost his family. He understands what it is like to have nothing. He helped me because he is kind, not because he wants anything from me. Next, Janet interviewed Thomas outside. Maya watched through the window, trying to read their body language. Thomas looked tense. Janet looked skeptical. They talked for a long time. When they came back inside, Janet sat down at the table and looked at both of them. This is a difficult situation, she began. On one hand, Maya is clearly healthier and happier than she was living on the streets. On the other hand, this arrangement is completely illegal and inappropriate according to child welfare standards. So what are you going to do? Maya asked, her voice small and scared. Janet pulled out more papers from her briefcase. I am going to give you both a choice. Option 1. Maya goes into foster care immediately while we sort out a proper guardianship arrangement. Option 2. Thomas applies for emergency foster care certification and legal guardianship, and if he passes all the requirements, Maya can stay here under official supervision. What does that involve? Thomas asked. Background checks, home inspections, references, interviews, training. It is a long process, and there is no guarantee you will be approved. But if you are serious about wanting to care for Maya, that is the legal way to do it. Thomas looked at Maya. What do you want? I want to stay here, Maya said without hesitation. With you, Thomas turned to Janet. Then I will do whatever it takes. Background checks, training, inspections, all of it. Tell me what I need to do. Janet nodded slowly. Okay, I am going to take a risk here. I am going to allow Maya to stay temporarily while we process your application, but I will be visiting regularly, unannounced. And at the first sign of anything inappropriate, I will remove Maya immediately. Understand? I understand, Thomas said. One more thing, Janet said. Maya needs to be in school. She is 15. She should be in 10th grade. We need to address her education. I have been reading, Maya said. Thomas has lots of books. That is not enough. You need formal education. A diploma or GED at minimum. If you stay here, we need to set up homeschooling or online courses. We can do that, Thomas agreed. Whatever she needs, Janet stood up. I will be back in 2 weeks for the first follow-up visit. In the meantime, I am going to start your paperwork, Mr. Brennan. This is going to require a lot from both of you. Are you both committed to seeing this through? Yes, Maya and Thomas said at the same time. After Janet left, Maya and Thomas sat in silence for a long time. The weight of what had just happened was sinking in. Their quiet, hidden life on the mountain was over. Now there would be oversight. Questions, scrutiny. Are you sure you want to do this? Maya asked. It is a lot of trouble. Maybe I should just go into foster care. No, Thomas said firmly. You are staying here. This is your home now. I am not letting them take you away. But why? Why would you go through all this for me? Thomas was quiet for a moment. Then he started talking, really talking, in a way he never had before. The day of the accident, he began, I was driving my family home from Sarah's school play. She had been the lead. She was so excited. Emily was sitting next to me. Sarah was in the back seat. We were all talking and laughing. Then my phone rang. It was work. I knew I should not answer while driving, but I thought it would be quick. I reached for the phone, took my eyes off the road for just a second. When I looked up, I was in the wrong lane. A truck was coming straight at us. I swerved, but it was too late. We crashed. The truck hit the passenger side. Emily and Sarah died instantly. I walked away with scratches. Tears were running down Thomas's face now. Maya had never seen him cry. For 15 years I believed I did not deserve to live, Thomas continued. I believed I did not deserve happiness or connection or love. I came to this mountain to punish myself, to live a half-life, to exist but not really live. Then I saw you in that bakery. A child in pain, a child who needed help. and I could not walk away. If I walked away from you, then Emily and Sarah died for nothing. 2 years had passed since that cold November day when Maya walked into the bakery, ready to trade her hair for bread. She was 17 now, almost 18. So much had changed that sometimes she barely recognized the scared, desperate girl she used to be. The cabin had changed too. Thomas had added on a small office space where Maya could do her schoolwork without distraction. He had installed better solar panels that gave them more electricity. He had built a greenhouse so they could grow vegetables even in winter. The mountain was still their sanctuary, but it was a more comfortable sanctuary now. Maya sat at her desk, finishing an essay for her online English class. She was in her senior year of high school now, on track to graduate in the spring with honors. Her teachers, who only knew her through video calls and written work, had no idea about her background. They did not know she lived in a cabin in the woods with no running hot water or internet, except for the satellite connection Thomas had installed for her education. They just knew she was a smart, dedicated student who always turned in excellent work. "How is it going?" Thomas called from the main room where he was working on a carpentry project. "Almost done," Maya called back. "Just need to proofread it." Thomas had changed as much as Maya had. He was still quiet and reserved, but he smiled more now. He had reconnected with the town in ways he had not done in years. He volunteered at the community center every month, teaching woodworking classes to teenagers who needed something positive in their lives. The kids called him Mr. Thomas. They looked up to him. Some of them came from broken homes, and Thomas understood them in ways other adults could not. Maya had met some of these kids when she went to town with Thomas. She recognized the look in their eyes. The same look she used to have. Lost, angry, scared. She tried to talk to them sometimes to let them know that things could get better. Some of them listened. Some of them did not. But she kept trying. In the afternoons after her schoolwork was done, Maya worked in the greenhouse. She had discovered a love for plants and growing things. What had started as a simple chore had become a passion. She spent hours researching different species, learning about soil composition, experimenting with growing techniques. The greenhouse was her domain, and it flourished under her care. "I have been thinking," Maya said that evening as they prepared dinner together. This had become their routine. Thomas would handle the meat and main dishes. Maya would work on vegetables and sides. They moved around the kitchen in comfortable synchronization, a dance they had perfected over 2 years. "About what?" Thomas asked, stirring a pot of stew. "College. My future. What comes next?" Thomas looked at her. "And what have you decided?" "I want to study botany, plant science, maybe agriculture or environmental studies. I want to learn how to help people grow their own food, especially people in difficult situations. Urban gardens. Community farms? Things like that," Thomas smiled. "That sounds like you. Using what you have learned to help others." "I have been looking at schools," Maya continued. "There is a state university about 2 hours from here. They have a good program. I could commute or maybe get a small apartment near campus, but I would come back on weekends to help with the cabin and garden." Thomas put down his spoon and turned to face her fully. "Maya, if you want to go away to school, really experience college life, you should do that. You do not need to worry about me or the cabin. But this is my home," Maya said. "You are my family. I do not want to abandon you after everything you have done for me." "You would not be abandoning me," Thomas said gently. "You would be living your life. That is what parents want for their children, for them to grow up and find their own path. I always knew this day would come. I am proud of you. I am proud of the person you have become." Maya felt tears in her eyes. "I am proud of you too. You saved my life. You gave me a future, and you gave yourself a future too. You are not the same man you were 2 years ago. You came back to life. We saved each other," Thomas corrected. "Never forget that." They finished making dinner in comfortable silence. After they ate, they played chess as they did most evenings. Maya had gotten quite good at it. She won about half the time now, and those wins were legitimate, not Thomas letting her win. "Check," Maya said, moving her bishop. Thomas studied the board. "You are getting too good at this. Soon I will not be able to beat you at all." "Good. Then I will know I learned from the best." A few weeks later, Maya turned 18. Thomas had been planning for this day for months. When Maya woke up on her birthday, she found him in the kitchen making a special breakfast. Pancakes with fresh berries from the greenhouse, real maple syrup that he had traded for with a neighbor. Hot chocolate made from scratch. Happy birthday, Maya, Thomas said, pulling her into a hug. Thank you, Maya said, hugging him back tightly. After breakfast, Thomas handed her an envelope. Open it. Inside were several documents. The first was a deed. Maya looked at it in confusion, then her eyes widened as she realized what she was reading. This is a property deed for 5 acres of this land, with my name on it. I am splitting the property, Thomas explained. 5 acres for you, 5 acres for me. The land where the greenhouse is, that is yours now. Legally yours. I have already had it surveyed and filed with the county. You own it. Maya stared at the paper, unable to speak. There is more, Thomas said, pointing to the other documents. The next paper was a bank statement, a college fund in Maya's name. $15,000. Not a fortune, but enough to pay for a significant portion of her education. How did you... Maya started, but her voice caught. I have been saving for 2 years, Thomas said. Every carpentry job I took, every bit of extra money I put into this fund. And I sold some things I did not need anymore. I want you to have the best education possible. I want you to chase your dreams without worrying about money. The last document was a building plan. A sketch of a small cabin, similar to the main cabin but smaller. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen and living area. At the top of the page, Thomas had written Maya's cabin. I'm going to build you your own cabin, Thomas explained, on your 5 acres. It will take me about a year, working on it between other projects. But by the time you graduate college, you will have your own place, close enough to visit easily, but far enough to give you independence. You can live there or rent it out or just use it as a retreat. Whatever you want, it will be yours. Maya could not hold back her tears anymore. She cried and cried while Thomas held her. This is too much, she sobbed. You have already given me everything. I have given you what every child deserves, Thomas said. A home, an education, a future love. These are not extras, Maya, they are necessities, and you deserve all of them. That afternoon, they drove to town. Mrs. Chen had organized a small birthday party at the bakery. Not many people, just Mrs. Chen and her family, Janet Pierce, who had become a friend over the years, and a few of the kids from Thomas's woodworking class. They ate cake and laughed and told stories. One of the younger kids, a 13-year-old boy named Marcus, who reminded Maya of herself 2 years ago, pulled her aside. Is it true you were homeless? He asked bluntly. Yes, Maya said. For a few weeks when I was 15. And Mr. Thomas just took you in? Just like that. Just like that, Maya confirmed. Marcus looked at Thomas, who was talking to Mrs. Chen across the room. Do you think he would ever do that again? Take in someone else who needed help? Maya studied Marcus's face. She saw the hope there, the desperation, the fear. Are you in trouble, Marcus? He shrugged, trying to act casual. My mom's boyfriend is not a good guy. Sometimes I think about running away. Do not run away, Maya said firmly. That is not the answer. Talk to Mr. Thomas or talk to Mrs. Pierce. There are better ways to get help than ending up on the streets. But it worked for you. I got lucky, Maya said. So lucky. Most kids who run away do not find someone like Mr. Thomas. Most of them end up in terrible situations. Promise me you will ask for help the right way. Marcus nodded slowly. Okay, I promise. Later, Maya told Thomas about the conversation. We should do something, she said. Create a proper program or something. There are kids like Marcus everywhere. Kids who need help but do not know how to ask for it. Thomas considered this. What did you have in mind? I do not know exactly. But maybe after I finish college, we could start something. A halfway house or mentorship program. Use your carpentry skills to teach kids trades. Use the mountain to teach them self-sufficiency. Give them what you gave me, skills, confidence, and hope. That is a big dream, Thomas said. You taught me to dream big, Maya replied. The spring came, and with it, Maya's high school graduation. She attended the virtual ceremony, wearing a cap and gown that Thomas had ordered online. They set up a camera so her teachers could see her receive her diploma. Thomas stood beside her, proud tears in his eyes. Sarah would have been so proud of you, Thomas said after the ceremony. It was the first time in months he had mentioned his daughter by name. He talked about his family sometimes now, not with the crushing pain of before, but with gentle sadness and loving memories. I hope I made you proud too, Maya said. Every single day, Thomas replied. That summer, Maya started taking online college courses, getting a head start on her degree.